Hi, I'm Jim Robinson, and here's a short little demo on dashboards using SQL Server reporting services. But before I dive into the demo, I wanted to kind of hit on a couple key points around why companies have started investing so heavily in business insights, reporting, dashboards, and analytics. A company called IDC did a investigation of a large number of companies, and one of the things that they looked at was some of the differences between the most successful of those and the least successful. And so, in the most successful companies, they found that the leaders reported 112% return on investment in insight, and that insight would influence their decisions twice as often. So, while a manager isn't expected to make a decision purely based on data, experience and knowledge of the market matters in a decision. If insight can influence that decision, oftentimes it's easier to support because you can say that the numbers don't lie. Also, it's better, it's healthier for an organization to share its numbers across different groups because different groups may see a different perspective and see a better opportunity. Whereas in the least successful companies, the IDC study found that sharing of information or data or numbers felt like a loss of control. The managers felt like somebody was just going to use those numbers against them. Harvard Business Review found the most successful companies all shared the practice of cutting half their projects on a regular basis. Some of these companies use the start stop continue exercise where the team members would get together and together make recommendations not only on what things we should start doing, but what things we should stop doing and what things we're already doing that we should continue doing. So I'm going to jump in to demo here. Demo. Okay, picking up where I left off. I'm just going to go into a dashboard here, and you can see that I've got the options exposed that I can select. I'll come back to those a little bit later. But suffice it to say for now that you can have any number of options for the user, and you can set defaults so that the user doesn't need to select those options each time if they're going to be static. You can also create linked versions of dashboards so that multiple people can have saved out different versions or different selections of options. Looking at this dashboard that's kind of centered around an executive at a medium-sized contractor that does field service and construction, that type of a resource, that type of a role, might be interested in things like the cash position and the fact that our cash position hasn't changed since last month, but it's changed dramatically since the previous year. We may need to do something about that, but at least it hasn't changed since the last month. An executive is also going to be interested in employee satisfaction and the quality of employees that the company's been able to bring into the organization, and seeing that the turnover has stayed the same or even gone down since the previous year is going to be fairly good news. Working counterclockwise here, if you've got cash and you've got good employees, the next thing you need is work to be done. And in comparing to the same period last year, we're doing a few more calls, about 10-15% more calls than in the same date range last year. So this kind of takes seasonality into account, and so we might want to look into what types of calls we're making. We can come back and look at that in a moment. The next one over here looks at our recurring revenue. It might be concerning that of the revenue base of the recurring maintenance contract base, a large portion of it, looks like about a third of it, is expiring. So this recurring revenue, this blue area is saying that in the next 0 to 30 days, we're going to lose 3.3 million in contracts, and that will dramatically reduce our recurring revenue and our ability to fund other activities if we don't take some action there. Working up here on the top, we're looking at margin on jobs, margin percent on jobs, and margin on contracts. So looking at margin on contracts here, we're really happy with our margin on jobs. I don't know if you can see the little target at 25%. We're at almost 50% on jobs, and on contracts, we're at about 35%. And in looking at that, it's good information, but we might want to drill down on it. So I can click on that, and what it'll do is it'll open another graphical representation of the data behind that. It starts by looking at top customers, which I can change that to be customer names, or I can change it to be so I can see along the legend here. I can see that it's stacked and looking and showing me the portion of the profit that's coming from pull through, which pull through might mean calls that we're getting because we have the contract, either upsales that the technician is doing or work that the customer is sending our way because they know our our name, they know our organization, they know what kind of service we can provide, and having a contract can drive some of that type of business, and it's interesting to measure that type of business. Whereas the contract is the profit, contract profit amount is the pure profit around the amount that we're billing for the contract minus any planned maintenance minus any unplanned maintenance that's covered under that contract. The difference between those three numbers is going to be the profit. So I might want to even look at just one. Show me the most profitable contracts that we have in this time period. And here I can see that most of my for my best one, most of my profit is coming from the contract itself. So we might be overpriced on this one, and since it's driving such a lot of profit, we might want to look into that. And one of the things that can be difficult in looking at graphical charts like this is it can while it's great to see numbers side by side compared to each other and visual representations can attract your attention where it needs to be. Sometimes you want to know what is the exact number, and it can be a little bit difficult to see. So when we hover over this, you can see I get a little tooltip that tells me what the exact number behind that is, and I also get my little finger pointer here, so that tells me I can click and it'll drill me in to yet another level of detail. So this is showing me my estimate hours, my actual hours, my total cost, what my total contract is. Of that, looks like I've billed the whole thing, but it's still in force for a period of time. Looks like out until the following January, and so I've only recognized a portion of it as revenue, but already even even stringing out revenue like that, I've picked up quite a large profit, and some of that is going to be the contract, and some of it is going to be a function of cost around pull through, which would be this is additional billing here. This 19,000 is additional billing that we're getting because of T&M work. In looking at this, it's showing still a high profit percentage. I may want to look into that and see what kind of T&M work we're actually getting. So I can see the planned maintenance, the unplanned and the planned maintenance here. Um, Total cost on those adds up to our 45,000. But I've also got some SOs and some time and materials type work, and that's increasing my cost as a function of profit, but it's offset by some of it at least being billed out to the customer. So that's probably a good thing, but we can actually drill in one more level and see what kind of work we're getting. Maybe we want to train our techs on how to better upsell additional work that we're not seeing happening, knowing this type of contract and this type of customer and how long they've been with us and all and those types of things. If I do see a trouble call that is a surprise, I can even click on that and potentially drill all the way into the application if I really want to. I can click one more time, and here it'll take me into the details of behind that particular call. So I can see some of the details as far as what labor was and those kinds of things. And so we always also have to remember that by using these tools, we're able to allow Big Brother to keep watching us. And Big Brother is actually helpful to us if you think of them as your IT resource that may allocate more system resources or even more people resources to your report if it's something that you're not the only one using. So IT wants to get the biggest bang for its buck, and being able to understand which workbooks and which reports are run the most often is something that sharing these out through SharePoint can help us do, and also, of course, having everything in one place, not just our reporting and dashboards, but our documents and our forms that help us do our day-to-day job is something that SharePoint adds to the mix in addition to the dashboards and drill downs themselves. So, just thinking back, one of the things that we're trying to accomplish is we want to be role specific so that we're not overloading somebody or underloading somebody with information that doesn't pertain to them. We want to be able to pull data from multiple sources, and SharePoint's great for pulling data from Excel and from your ERP system and maybe from CRM and presenting it to the user all in one place. We like automated updates and subscriptions, so send me an alert when a particular scenario happens. Send me an update or send me a report on a regular basis if it's something that I want to look at in my email as opposed to going out to a browser page. That's certainly an option. We like the fact that IT's involved, but we still want to self-serve. We don't want to ask IT every time we want a drill down or a different filter, and we saw some ways to filter and slice the data without having to generate another report or make a report request. And of course, we also saw drill down as well. So hopefully that gives you a little taste of what dashboards can do. Again, I'm Jim Robinson. Thanks for your time.